Silverstone Media PR. We are specialists in online PR. For artists, for your music, for businesses, for your product. If you would like to talk to us about any of these things, please contact Silverstone Media. You can email ssm.pr@hotmail.com or call us on 07919 954 636. Hi there everyone, I'm Caroline Stevens and this is another episode of Let's Talk. Now this week, on this episode, we've got, well, I have to admit, a friend of mine, a lovely human being, one of my best friends. This person, this woman has and is one of the most successful women in the music industry today in the UK. And we're going to be talking to her about, you know, the struggles of women in the music industry and how important it is that we stick together. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Jo Hart. Hi, Jo.
Oh, wow. What an introduction. Thank you.
A build-up, huh? A build-up.
Oh, I know. Oh, okay.
No, but it's true. It's true. I mean, you know, you've built up your company, Hart Media PR, you know, for years. It's been a struggle, I know, you know, especially for women in the industry, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's had its moments. It still has its moments. I think things are getting better for women. It's getting a lot better. Still a way to go. But it's finding that balance as well, because it can go too far. You know, this whole Me Too movement is incredible, and it's very powerful, but it's also could go a little bit too far because, you know, men are not the enemy. You know, it's and not all men are the way that some are portrayed. So
no,
I think it's just as a woman, and not using it just because you are a woman. You know, at the end of the day, you should be. It's because you're good at your job and you're good at what you do and you're that person.
Exactly.
That you are.
So let's talk about your job. I mean, how did it start? Did you start off in the music industry straight into PR, or did you enter it through another avenue?
Well, it started off when my brother, who, fun enough, you had on a couple of weeks ago from Burger Bites, Andrew, he used to run a club called Buzzbiz. He used to run a nightclub every Sunday night. It used to be called Buzzbiz. It was an under 18s kind of club. And in those days, I mean, my world, I'm going back now quite a few years, 35 years maybe ago. You know, it was artists that were starting out right from the beginning of their careers, especially the pop artists out there, used to go to clubs and used to perform, and that's how they built up their fan base. You know, we didn't have internet, we didn't have phones. So years ago, when you were a pop artist, you used to go and do PAs because and start getting people to fill out their names and addresses on paper, so you build up a fan base that you could mail to them when your releases were out. So Andrew had something called Buzzbiz, which was in Tottenham Court Road at the Astoria downstairs. It was under 18, and he started getting all these artists to perform each week. He had Bros before it started, they were famous. He had Brother Beyond, he had Rick Astley, had loads and loads of, I was about 14 at the time, and I was looking after the artists. I would get them their waters, I'd get them their towels, and I loved it. I loved looking after them. But I also used to kind of do some singing and things like that. I used to do amateur dramatics, and I just loved performing. And actually, I wanted to be a performer more than I did anything else, or an actress. I then went to Pitman's Secretarial College because my mum always said to me, listen, you know, you can always get any job that you want if you're a secretary, learning those skills. So I went to when I was about 16, 17, went to Pitman's. In my 6-month course, I got 2-week work placement, and the agency who were looking after Pitman's at the time said, what would you like to do? And I said, oh, I'd love to do film or music. And they got me 2 weeks work experience at EMI Records. And I was there, but I was in the most boring department, but I had lovely people to work with. And I was doing filing. It wasn't anything exciting. I didn't even know what different departments were in the music industry, and even being there at that time, I didn't know. So, but I just worked my butt off. I always say to people, I would have cleaned the toilet with a toothbrush because I was so wanting to impress them.
Yeah, excited to be there, part of it. Yeah.
I was in Manchester Square, you know, where the Beatles had that very famous photo taken of them leaning over. and the balcony. And I don't know, at that time they said, oh, we don't take on college leavers, because I said, oh, do you think I could get a job? And they said, like, no. Anyway, I went back to college. I had to finish off my course. And my long story is that about the Wednesday, well, I'd finished my course, and it was, I can always remember, it was a Wednesday. And as I said, at that time, there were no phones or internet, no, anything to. And I remember my mum, we were moving from a house to a flat, and we were going from one place to another. It was about 20 minutes away. I just passed my driving test, so I was an eager beaver getting in the car. When we got to the flat, my mum was like, oh no, I've forgotten material to show the curtain guy that was coming. So I was like, don't worry, I'll go. So I drove back home. When I'm walking down through the door, the phone is ringing. It's the agency saying there's a job going at a record company. Would you like to go for an interview? Now, me being the way I am, it was Wednesday. I was meant to be starting a financial firm on the Monday. And I was like, oh, I would love to, but I really don't want to let these people down. I felt bad to, that they'd interviewed me and got down to obviously the person that they picked after quite a couple of weeks. And I thought, oh, I don't want to do that. It's not fair. So I turned it down.
Oh, wow.
So I get back in the car, drove another 20 minutes back to Buckhurst Hill, where we were moving to. And I told my mum, and mum said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I really want to work in music. She goes, well, go for it. You might not get it anyway, so you might as well go for it. So I had to get back in my car, drive up the road to a pub, because as I say, no phones.
No mobiles.
Go to the agency, and the agency were just putting in the last CV, and they added mine in at the last, right? Got a call, went for the interview on the Friday. I started at EMI on the Monday because it was at EMI.
Wow.
In the promotion.
Unbelievable. What a story.
And there I am.
Silverstone Media PR. We are specialists in online PR. For artists, for your music, for businesses, for your product. If you would like to talk to us about any of these things, please contact Silverstone Media. You can email ssm.pr@hotmail.com or call us on 07919 954 636.
So that was 31 years ago. So I started when I was 17. It was 1990.
So how long did you stay at EMI?
4 years. I was there for 4 years. After 2 years, I was plugging half the country. So I was taking artists out on the road. My first ever artist to take out on the road was an amazing, wonderful guy called Jeffrey Williams, who, check him out. He's just incredible. He lives in Australia now, but you always remember your first, as they say,
of course.
And, we had to read maps. It was like crazy times. You didn't have sat-navs or phones.
No Google Maps.
Nothing like that. So I learned my trade by driving. So I'd drive the artists, would do dinners. I mean, it was exhausting. Sometimes I'd be out 4 weeks on the road with an artist every week. And I had a great time. I mean, working with so many different artists, and from rock, Iron Maiden, Poison, Whitesnake, Marillion, Thunder.
What a career.
Some of these people now, and we're still,
still
hang out and laugh about the old days. Yeah, mates as in if I see them out and about.
Yeah.
Diana Ross, Cliff Richard, to the Wilson Phillips girls, Eternal. I worked with them right from the word go. It was just incredible. Being in the 90s in a record label like EMI was just incredible. The parties, the
I know.
Oh my God, what a life.
What a life. Yeah, I know. What a life.
Then after 4 years.
Right.
And then went to an independent and set up their radio department for them, called Size 9. So I was there for 3 years. And then I got the opportunity. I was working with an amazing guy called Nigel Sweeney, who had a company called, he changed the name, but his name's Spanner. And we got on very, very well. And I kind of was getting to the point where I feel like I need to be a little bit more appreciated in what I do. So I work hard. I was working till 11 o'clock at night. And anyway, I thought I'd speak to him, and I said, I'd love to join with you. So we did a lot of things together. He did national radio and I did the regional radio. So I did all the radio stations outside of London. So over England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. And he said, well, better still, why don't I set you up in your own company? So he gave me the opportunity. I was 24 years old, and then he spoke to some wonderful guys called Pete Hadfield and Keith Blackhurst, who own Deconstruction Records. And they were like, oh, we want a bit of Joe kind of thing. We want a kind of input. So they also helped fund me, but they were my silent partners at the time because they didn't want anyone to know, which was amazing. And I set up, it was called Joe Hart PR at the time. And I set up my company, which is 24 years old this year. And I kept on working. I did all the Arista stuff. So I was doing Usher, I was working Whitney, I was working TLC, to Sarah McLachlan, to all the deconstruction stuff like Republica, Way Out West, Spiritualized. Oh my God. Again, I was just like, oh my, this is just, I'm just so blessed. But this time it was me running the company. And, you know, being 24, I have to say, it was very nerve-wracking. Again, my parents were a big, support for me. And I said to them, what should I do? Should I leave? And they're like, what's the worst that can happen? You just end up going back as a secretary or an assistant somewhere. Go for it. If you don't go for it, you never know. And obviously I did. Thank God, 24 years later. I then was doing all the jive stuff. So I worked NSYNC for 4 years. And then I, worked Justin Timberlake's first album. And Britney, Dogs Die in Hot Cars. Oh my, it was just brilliant. I just love.
The list is endless. I mean, it really is. Working with all these people, it's going to be I think you're not going to be able to answer this question. However, I'm going to ask it. All these people that you've worked with, have you got a personal favourite?
I've got a few. M people, absolutely. I just adore them. I'm still friends with Mike and Shovel and if I see Heather, I haven't seen Heather for a while, but Jamie Cullum was one of my favorites. NSYNC, I mean, I'm still friends with a couple of the boys from there, and working with Justin was great because I knew them from nothing. A lot of the bands I worked with, obviously being at EMI, I worked with bands that Bruce Dickinson was the first ever famous person I met, and I wasn't a rock chick at all. I mean, I became into rock from being at EMI because it opened up the doors to so much more music that I probably wouldn't ever know about. And that's why I
probably wouldn't have listened to, maybe.
No. And he was the first ever artist I met. And he was amazing. What a lovely, lovely guy. Just adored him. God, the Thunder Boys, the Marillion guys, I just worked with Mark Kelly on a project. It's just, God, Robert Miles, it's just too many.
Too many to mention. All right, maybe I should answer a different question then. So out of everybody you've worked with all these great, wonderful people. Is there anybody that you haven't worked with and would love to?
Oh, Barbra Streisand for me. I mean, I have kind of worked her. I did get an album to work of hers, but I never met her. So I would love to
meet her. Yeah, that's probably an easier question to answer, isn't it?
George Benson, I absolutely love.
I love George Benson.
I met him and I worked with him, and oh my word. I mean, it's really weird because I even up to recently, I've worked with people like Engelbert Humperdinck, who, he's not my genre of, obviously, he's a lot older, but oh my word, what a darling to work with.
A professional, right? A real pro. Some people are just real pros.
I've been very, very lucky. I've hardly had anyone that I haven't liked.
It's funny that you mentioned George Benson, because I'm actually in the process of writing a musical about George Benson.
Oh my!
How weird is that?
Isn't it? That was always my dream, to be a backing vocalist for George Benson. I just adore him.
I know, he's great, isn't he? It's great songs. I've got all the albums. I just love him. He was in when I was living in Spain. He came and did a big show in Marbella.
Yeah,
it was at the Punta Romano, I think. What a great artist!
Oh my God, the guitar, the guitar, and then him tapping the tambourine on his foot. So it's just like, oh my God, this guy is just
so talented, isn't he? So talented. I read somewhere, I think it was last year or the year before, that you were doing something with the Jacksons.
I worked with Tito. Yeah,
and I remember you putting something on Facebook or something you wrote about how excited you were to be working, with one of the Jacksons.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously lots of things have changed for the Jacksons in the last few years, but you can't stop the way they're geniuses. I
Well, you
mean,
can't take away what they are.
is a
Yeah.
genius writer, but unfortunately now tarnished with a terrible thing, and it's difficult because he's a genius in his music.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know. Silverstone Media and the right buzz have joined hands to make us stronger and more powerful. Silverstone Media and the right buzz are here to help you as an artist release your music on our online record label, SSM Records, reaching over 125 online record shops where your songs can be downloaded. Our package also offers you all the online PR that you will need as an artist to gain the most exposure that you can possibly get. We're a great team, and together we are working for you. Let's go back to Hart Media. So you started Hart Media 24 years ago.
Yep, when I was 24.
Right. So it went from Joe Hart PR to Hart Media. Hart Media has been going now. It's one of the most successful PR companies in the UK. And as you know, I always recommend Hart PR to everybody. Not just because you're my friend, but because it's a fantastic company and you do a great job there, you and the team. But how has it been affected this last year with the pandemic?
Well, from a radio point of view, it's still going strong, thank God. I mean, radio, at the beginning, we weren't sure how things were going to happen. There's a lot of the radio stations got taken over by a bigger group of stations. So that was always something that we just didn't know as pluggers where that would lead to. But it happened and it's done now. But what we found was that radio actually went up about 30%. Because everyone found their love again for radio, which I think is amazing, especially as I do mainly. I mean, I do a little bit of national, but I mainly do regional. So it's all the stations all around the country. And, people want that local content. They want to know what's going on in Manchester or Bury or Durham or Leeds or Lincoln, to get it from someone in London just wasn't going to happen. So we found that a lot of stations adapted really, really quickly. That even the community stations, which are just building and building now, they were incredible. They just set up, they started setting up at home. They started recording at home and putting their output at home. They were amazing. I mean, I have to take my hats off to all the radio people out there. I think they've done a fantastic job, and they're still bringing the news as well as great music to their local listeners. And I think it's
community.
Important. Yeah, press, PR, all the kind of PR side have taken over. Streaming, I mean, that went down a little bit, but obviously still important. But I think people went to radio because if they were working from home, and especially if you're on your own working at home and you've got no one around you, it could be a bit lonely. So having that radio on in the background, of having music, of songs, but also having a little bit of chit chat and the news every 15 minutes or half an hour.
It was kind of like how it was years ago.
Yes, it kind of brought us back to those ages again, which it's
basic essentials that we had years ago. I mean, I remember years ago, like when I was a teenager, my mum had the radio on in the kitchen all the time. And then later on in her life, she went from all music to music and chat. And then obviously in her latter years, it was just talk radio. But, it was always radio on in our house, always.
Yeah. I mean, people obviously at the beginning turned on the news because the news had it all over. But I think everyone got a bit annoyed or bored or
fed up with it. Fed up.
Getting me out or getting me upset. So everyone, and streaming is great when you've got the time, but if you're working and you're trying to maybe build a new business or keep your business or even work for a company, and you haven't got time to start streaming stuff because you have to keep doing it. Radio is just a constant comfort, I think.
You switch it on and there you have it.
Happy, and there's some fantastic presenters out there, and they do such a phenomenal job at even reporting news, and I suppose bad news sometimes, especially lately with all the figures and everything, but they have a way of softening things for you, and then you have a tune that comes in and like, oh, like something that might, from being down from listening to the news, and then they go into a tune that's like, oh my God, that makes me feel happy again.
Exactly.
So radio, I think, has been so important, and I've been so lucky to have been in that side where friends of mine and very good friends of mine are in the live sector, and it's just been so tough, and I'm trying to help where I can and do what I can do, but please God, now with the kind of hoping out the rollout for, like you guys, you and Dave, for instance, your bands that, go out and perform for people. So I'm just hoping that,
well, you know what? Good news. Last night I was sitting complaining about, no gigs to my niece Sarah. And I was talking to her about a couple of gigs that we'd had last year that had to be cancelled. And I put the phone down, and then on my phone I get a WhatsApp from one of these gigs to say, can we rebook the gig for the 22nd of May?
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, so that's great. And then I had another message all within 20 minutes from the people that we used to gig for out in Spain. Fabulous venue that do weddings and functions, saying, are we okay to come this summer and do some weddings and functions for them?
Amazing.
So
I've seen some of my friends that are bookers
opening up now. It's just
4 hours. It's just gone mental. It's just gone mad for people booking stuff, because what we've done as well in the process of over the last kind of year is that some artists and bands kind of thought, we're not going to release now, but then they've kind of cottoned on, actually we should release. And what they've done is we've helped build them more, that now that they are ready to go out there, they've got a little bit more of a fan base, or they've built up their fan base even more, and now they've got a bit more of a chance to start going out and gig with it. So it's kind of worked out well, because we've helped them progress a little bit more than they would have been a year ago, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, I think lockdown, I think what happened in lockdown for me and for many other artists and stuff is that you had more time at home on the computer, so you were spending more time building up yourself, promoting yourself on your Facebooks, on your Instagram, on your Twitters and all that stuff. You had more time to do it. So as you know, we've got a couple of artists who are releasing some stuff, please God, next month, when they can get to record their lead vocals. And what they've been doing is just building that for the last 7-8 months, letting everybody know that is what's coming.
And I think there's going to be some amazing songs, because, a lot of songs are built on emotion, right? So some of these amazing songwriters and artists have been stuck at home. Some days they might have bad days, some days they might have had great days. And if they've been writing, I think there's just going to be some fantastic tracks coming.
Some good stuff coming.
And people are actually writing together with others as well. So if you've been a writer and or a singer and you've wanted to write with someone or for years, but they've been too busy in the studio, they haven't had time, I think it's given them the chance now, because the only thing some of these people could do is songwriting. So
exactly,
there's been so much work being done. I'm just praying and hoping that it's just going to get
I just think in June, the end of June, it's just going to go crazy.
I know.
Live music, I think it's really going to go crazy.
Definitely. I mean, listen, we've still got to see. I mean, the government are right. We've got to do it in stages, because
being cautious, isn't it? They're just being cautious.
Yeah, I'd still want to be cautious as a person.
Silverstone Media PR. We are specialists in online PR for artists, for your music, for businesses, for your product. If you would like to talk to us about any of these things, please contact Silverstone Media. You can email ssm.pr@hotmail.com or call us on 07919 954 636. I know you're a mum to 2 beautiful girls.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
How's it affected you at home, the pandemic, with, being at home with the girls, no school?
Working a lot harder and longer hours, because I've now got to fit in making breakfast, lunch and dinner and fitting in with their schedule and hosting meetings around that or after that. And then working till later after dinner because I've got to kind of stop when work is still going on.
Of course.
I'm always checking my emails. I've got an amazing team. So having a team around me I've been very, very lucky. So thank you, Daisy, Liam, Alex and Mimi. And obviously my mum works for me as well. Well, not obviously, you didn't know that. But my mum works for me as well, and she's been amazing. She does all my accounts and invoicing. But she's been my rock right from the word go. So I have to thank her.
Your mum can be my rock as well anytime she likes. I love Carol. I love Carol. I love her.
Yeah, she's amazing. She is
amazing. But what about, like on a personal level, is it been difficult homeschooling and that sort of thing?
I'm exhausted, put it that way, but I'm the type of person that I don't stop. And I know that the day that I stop, like for one day or relax, I would just probably get a cold or something. I'm dealing with emotions. I'm not only just dealing with making sure my team are all right and my staff, because even though they're busy, they're also having their own probably situations at home, don't know what. So I'm dealing with them. I'm dealing with, the girls. I mean, they're only 8 and 9. When it was back in March, it was hell. I mean, I called it hell schooling, not homeschooling, because we were, obviously everyone didn't know what to do, especially the teachers. And they were like, how do we do this? My kids are not at private school, so it wasn't like they could go on lessons because they hadn't really done that. And there was the whole situation of safeguarding issues with going online. I also actually do, I'm a governor at the school, so I'm the safeguarding governor, as if I haven't got much to do in my life without adding that to it. But I've loved every minute. It's taught me so many different things in a different way. But being the safeguarding governor and seeing what they've done, it was very difficult for teachers to go online because it was difficult. Anyway, so they were sending through all the work to us, sometimes a little bit too much. I mean, I had to kind of say, do the kids get this in a day? And they're like, oh no, over 2 weeks. And I'm like, well, why are we as parents, And it started off, it was like the first week was great. The kids really behaved themselves. But after that, it was just hell. Just trying to, I have to say, I drank more in those first few months than I've ever drunk before. Really, every night I was just having a drink because I just needed it. But then they got things together, for after September, after the summer holidays. Our teachers at our school were incredible. They went online. They do 3-day lessons a day now. So the kids, and obviously they're slightly older. So whereas before I had to sit with them, and 4 hours of my day was taken up by helping them doing their work. Now they get on with it, and they've got teaching assistants afterwards that will help them. But I mean, I still help them, and I still check all the time. Every single lesson, I go through everything and make sure they've done it. If they haven't done it, I make sure. So it's just fitting it in. I just have. I suppose being organised and having to dealing with tours,
running offices.
Bands.
Yeah.
My God, you just end up, I've got with so many bands, working So Solid Crew that had like 50 million members, to NSYNC who had 5 members, and organising them, to another band who I won't mention. There were 3 girls, and organising a day where 2 would be in the studio doing interviews while one went off shopping, and then organising the other one to come back while the other one. I think out of my life and working 31 years in the industry, I've learned how to juggle different things,
multitask and organise.
Absolutely. And my staff and my husband, and my husband, he's great. So he's quite, he could do stuff himself, but cooking, I've made new things. I've discovered new recipes. I've tried out in the middle of it all. I mean,
So would you say then, as awful and horrendous that this lockdown has been, actually there's some good come out of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've definitely learned a few new things without even realizing, and just kind of proud of the fact I'm proud of the fact that I've done it. It's like, wow. But
you've come out the other side.
Although I'm still on my emails all the time, I'm still working till later. So with the kids, when I'm like, "Mummy, come and play," and I'm like, "I really can't. I'm sorry, I've got to do some work." So It's kind of difficult because I am a workaholic. I always have been. I mean, look, when I had my second child, the first one I didn't take time off, but I let staff members look after things because first child, you don't know what you're doing. But my second one, I had a C-section in the morning, and in the afternoon I was back on my BlackBerry working, with the epidural still in me. God knows what I wrote that afternoon, but I don't know. I've always just been like that. At 14, I was working in Saturday jobs and at shops and earning money and helping my brother. My mum used to work the markets. I used to go and work with her in the summer, in the holidays and things. I think I've always been like that because my family have always been entrepreneurs.
And that's probably why you've been so successful. I always find that it's, you only get out of something what you put in. And you've obviously put in a lot of yourself in life in general, in your personal life, in your work life, and that's why you're a successful businesswoman and you've got a beautiful family.
Oh, thank you. No, I mean, I don't take anything for granted. I'm thankful all the time. I don't take anything, I do work hard. I
know you do.
But I think my parents were a big supporter in that as well. Always be nice to people, whoever it is, doesn't matter. Who cares? People are people, make their day. I always say to my team, always be nice. Even if someone's being the most horriblest person on the call, just kill them with kindness. Just like, okay, because you never know what they're going through.
Exactly.
And sometimes you don't in it. Just all the time. It doesn't mean, because you just never know as well who you're going to meet later on. Who are you going to see? Yeah, I mean, I remember being at EMI and when I was obviously 17, 18, and Clive Black, who I adore, was the MD there at the time. And, he used to, you'd go past him, he'd say hello to you in the corridor. And then there was Josie, the cleaner, who was hilarious. She was like such a character. And he'd give her a big hug and a kiss. But there were other people that were there that were like high up that would just ignore you. It's like, hello, hi, I'm here kind of thing. And he always said to me, Clive, just be nice to everyone. It doesn't hurt to be nice. You make their day. And I could see it when he hugged Josie, the cleaner, she loved it. It made her day coming in. Who knows what she was going through. Just because she was the cleaner didn't make her any less worthwhile than someone was the head of the company. So I always teach that. And I said, and I always say that you're never too busy to help people or to talk to people or be there for someone.
Well, you know what, everybody, I'm glad Joe's speaking about that because, we all have good days and bad days. And I went through a very bad time when I lost my brother way back in November from COVID. And I have to say, I'm a witness and I can give you evidence that this woman, Jo Hart, is what she says she is. She was there for me every single day. And you've heard how busy she is. But she always found time to call me to see that I was okay. So yeah, one of my dearest friends who I love dearly.
Oh, I love you too. We've become very, very close. And I think, again, something that's come out of this whole COVID thing is you find out who the people are, the good people. There's been some
absolutely.
I know that you spoke to my brother a couple of weeks ago and I was helping him. I even found time to, in between homeschooling right at the beginning, I was also helping him raise money so we could feed the NHS because it started off with someone I knew from the Royal Free Hospital saying that their sister wasn't getting any food. And I said to my brother, come on, should we get some burgers up to them just to help them out? Because I feel a bit bad, and I kind of, funded that and helped him. And then from there, I got one of my really close friends, Alison Martin, who is brilliant. And we started raising money. And I think we raised about £22,000 at that time. He had a few other people helping as well. And we raised money, and he was able to deliver those burgers. And as you probably heard a couple of weeks ago, you know, 50, I think it's 53 or 54,000 burgers now.
55,000 burgers. Unbelievable. That's going to go
up because today he's gone out today, the day that we're talking. He's trying to do once a week because he's not got a business anymore. So it was really, really lovely. And I did a few charity records as well, which I helped, you know, so I tried to help people as well, you know, by putting out some records for them to raise money. I had the lovely Matt Goss, who I worked with, saw what I was doing and said, I want to put some money towards your brother. And he helped as well. So thank you, Matt Goss. You're an absolute sweetheart. And, you know, it's amazing. You see the people that come through and that all of a sudden people have just become amazing.
I know. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
There's amazing people out there.
So what's going to happen? What's the future for Jo Hart and Hart Media PR?
Well, hopefully I carry on.
What's new? Anything new on the horizon? You do so much.
We do. I mean, we work with some fantastic, I mean, as well as the bigger artists, obviously, I don't work those ones that I mentioned before because I'm not at the labels and they keep them in-house. But, oh, wow, I've got some fantastic artists. A new artist called, well, she's not kind of newish, but Cara Marnie, Karen Harding.
I know Karen Harding, actually.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
She's lovely. She actually sang for me. When did she? Yeah, she was about 16. She came to, we were living in Southend, and Denise sent her to Dave and I to help her, you know, with her singing and stuff, and do a bit of recording so she could get a bit more experience. She was,
I say hello to her for you.
Yes.
She's amazing. She's just, you know, it's taken some time. All artists, I think one thing that people have to realize that, yeah, you might see some people on X Factor or the Voice, which is great because there's been some brilliant people that have come out from that. And sometimes they might not have got noticed if they hadn't have done that. But it doesn't happen overnight. You know, people like Karen Harding have been going for 2-3 years. All these artists that have come through, they haven't just come from nowhere. They've been developed and been developing and writing and, you know, getting better and better. I'm working with Boy George's new artist, Vangelis, who's fantastic as well. He's such a character and brilliant. So I'm very excited about that. We're only working the first single at the moment, but I'm very hopeful for him. I work with Tony Hadley on the heritage side, Nick Kershaw, Matt Goss, obviously, he'll have a new album, Marty Pello at the moment. So those are the bigger names, but, you know, working newer artists, just coming through, like, as I say, the Cara Marnies and an artist called Responds. I've just been working Passenger as well, so I've worked quite a few.
I know you have. That you was very successful with Passenger.
Oh, it's such a beautiful album. It really is. It's a stunning body of work, as I would call it. I love working the newer acts as well because that feeling of growing, helping them grow and getting them on playlists and on radio is such a great. I'm working an artist called Lola Lennox, who's Annie Lennox's daughter as well. And that's been a brilliant project to work. I mean, not only is she fantastic, but the response from radio, they've been so supportive. So it's kind of,
So you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot.
I work with the most amazing band called The Classics as well. So check them out, everyone.
Oh, The Classics. They've got a new single coming soon.
They have indeed. And I can't wait to get to radio. So, yeah.
So there you go. So look, we're running out of time. I love speaking to you. You know, we'll probably finish this show. It'll get edited. It'll go out. And then we'll be on the phone for an hour and a half tonight.
Yeah, it's like being with my mum. My mum works for me. She does like 3 days a week. Obviously, you haven't been in the office together. But she would come in. We'd have, you know, every now and then have our arguments as a mother-daughter would. But she'd leave. And then I'd call her about 5 times after that in the day. It's like, I've just seen her. My dad's like, you've just seen each other. Why? What have you got to talk about?
I know.
But you just do.
I
always
know.
Do find
it's lovely. It's lovely. All right, my darling. I will speak to you later for sure.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be on
Thank
here.
you for coming on Let's Talk and speaking about yourself. And everybody, let's thank Jo Hart. She's a wonderful human being, good friend of mine. I love her dearly. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye.